So part of what I do on this channel is talk about other more influential people. And certainly I know my spot. Occasionally I serve a purpose, in particular when there's like pop culture related things, but I know where I'm at. I know I'm not in the same echelon as Tim Pool or Matt Walsh or really anybody involved in this conservative quote unquote civil war that Brett Cooper made a video about yesterday. And I don't really, at the time when she put out the video, I didn't understand why this was a big deal, why what Matt Walsh was saying was so controversial. And I spent the last hour or so trying to get to the bottom of it. And I thought, boy, this must have a ton of nuance. There must be something more going on here. It really isn't. It seems like there's a section of the right that does not want to be associated with another section of the right. And Matt Walsh's position is that he doesn't want to make any new enemies and that he doesn't want to punch right, as he puts it. And what I struggle to understand is why there's this push for disassociation. This is a leftist tactic. I have been critical of Candace Owens's position or opinions, in particular around Charlie Kirk. She's been right about things. She's been wrong about things. I don't want her deplatformed. And as harsh as I have been, I don't need to ever feel the need to, quote unquote, disassociate with her. Essentially, this is like America first versus Israel first. I don't really know. I really tried to find a really deep meaning to all of this. And essentially, it's Matt Walsh won't disavow Candace Owens or Nick Fuentes. And so he's a big meanie. And I'm not even sure which channel I'm going to upload this to right now because I have my Jeremy Hambley channel and the main one. So you may be seeing, just check the channel that you're watching. Hopefully you'll subscribe. But here's essentially the breakdown. I'll record it as if it's going to go on the Jeremy Hambley channel, but I don't really know. Matt Walsh, so Brett Cooper puts out this video yesterday saying this, essentially.
I will not stop being friends with Candace Owens, who has become like a big sister to me because the internet demands it. I will not attack Matt just because I no longer work with him or because the internet has decided to pile on to him for the 27th millionth time.
I'm going to stop it right there. That is a very normal human interaction or human feeling. When I am told that I need to do something, I want to do it double. This goes back to even some of our most base instincts of like a dad telling his daughter not to date that girl or to date the guy, the bad boy. And then she ends up getting pregnant from him. Like, this is not anything new. This is, again, basic human like reactions. To demand Brett Cooper distance herself from Matt Walsh because he won't distance himself from somebody else is cancel culture. It's weird. It's cringe. I don't want anything to do with it. Just because, for example, Nick says some heinous stuff doesn't mean that I need to disavow him. The position on the right, I'm sorry, with a small portion of the right, is that Matt Walsh needs to disavow Candace or Nick or whoever they say. This is, I don't know which side is the woke right. I don't really understand or care, because Matt's point on not really getting involved with criticizing the right is a valid one and an important one. And I'll tell you why. First of all, it divides your audience. And from a business perspective, that's generally not a good decision. Second of all, I think you can be critical of your peers without making a whole video about it. This is something I haven't been great at over the years. I've certainly made videos critical of Matt. He's made videos critical of me, but it's a different era now. And, there was a while there where I was making quite a few videos about, Candace and her positions on Charlie Kirk. I have no longer found that to be fruitful. There really is, look, I disagree with some of the things she said, but what is the point? Her and I agree on far more than we will ever disagree on. And same with Matt. As long as Matt's not talking about pop culture, we probably agree on most things. So if he has a hot take that I disagree with, what is the value to the cause of me making a video to criticize him? Really? Now, again, I'm getting older now. I learned this lesson probably far too late after too many bridges were burned. But, there's a reason you don't see me on Matt's podcast or Candace's podcast, or because over the years, I react poorly, and and I'm, childishly, or that I don't use enough tact, or that, whatever the case is. That's why you don't see me collaborating with a lot of people. It's not because, there's no interest, because I've definitely wronged a lot of people or made people feel a certain way about me. And I wish I had looked back and played things a lot more tactfully. Now, there is a section of the world that says, hey, Matt, it's being cowardly, or it's a bad thing, it's bad for the right to not disavow people who are, in their opinion, bad for the right. That's essentially the position. Saying like, hey, if you don't disavow Nick, if you quote unquote platform Nick, then you're bad for the right. Well, isn't that the same thing by you demanding, deplatforming and things of that nature? And also, might I add, I had never heard complaints about who was or who wasn't platformed until I heard the left talking about it. I never heard anybody talking about anybody else platforming somebody until I heard the left talk about, hey, you shouldn't be platforming this person. We need to deplatform. The whole idea of saying we shouldn't be platforming this guy or that guy, this is a leftist ideology. This is a woke ideology about deplatforming and, getting, who can and who can't talk, and you need to disavow that person or disavow. It's weird. And there is a very vocal, and a lot of these people I follow too, and I agree with them on a lot of other things, but I really disagree on this. If Matt Walsh wants to be loyal to people he's met IRL in real life, that he's loyal to them, and he doesn't feel the need to torpedo that relationship by putting them out on blast, that's his decision. And also, that also makes a pretty big assumption, and that is that Matt or anybody else hasn't said things privately. Look, if I'm friends with somebody and I have a problem with something they're doing, the normal human thing to do would be to talk to them privately. I probably should have did that with Candace and said you sure about all these various theories you have? And instead, I burned the bridge and I call her Kooky Candace, or whatever the case may be. I don't think that, again, Candace, Nick, Matt, it doesn't matter whether or not I agree or disagree with them. I think what matters is I have the choice to consume their content or not. I wouldn't need them to tell me. I would react the same way when people tell Matt Walsh, hey, you should be disavowing these people. If Matt Walsh came out and said, hey, Jeremy, you should disavow these people, I wouldn't react well to that either. I don't agree with this. These people are good or bad for our quote unquote movement. I don't think that the big tent is necessarily a good thing, but I think we don't live in a world of absolutes. And when we have these situations where there's only a finite amount of time. So should I spend it criticizing a wild thing Candace Owens said, or a crazy thing Nick Fuentes said, or should I talk about the people that actually want us dead? And I think that's really Matt's point. And he's right about that. And I waited, it's too late for me to probably mend a lot of the bridges that I've gone through. But what does conservatism gain by me saying, oh my God, Nick Fuentes is bad, you shouldn't talk to him? Nothing. It doesn't gain anything. It is a purity test in some people's eyes, and essentially, again, it's people who are overly critical of Israel, or perhaps brash or crass in their criticism of Israel. That's what I find between Tucker, Candace, and Nick. These are the people, from what I've gathered, that people are demanding be ostracized from the right. It's not doing a lot for the, hey, Israel doesn't control everything, when the three loudest critics of Israel I'm being told, hey, I need to disavow them. I have had problems with what Candace has claimed about Charlie, but I don't really care about Like, I wasn't making videos saying, wow, you know, Emmanuel Macron's husband or wife or whatever. I didn't care about that. Even if I disagree with it, what good does that do? It makes more sense to say, Nick, he's a bit of a goofball. He says things once in a while, and then move on with your day. Because that's why the left wins. That's what the left does. And while I don't think that it's a binary thing where it's like, well, by not disavowing Nick, you're co-signing what he says. That's a leftist thought. That's a leftist talking point. I don't co-sign everything Nick says. That's why my name's not Nick. If I had him on my show, I would press him and ask him about things that I didn't co-sign, and maybe there would be things that we agree on and things that we disagree on. That's normal. What's not normal is this weird, like, big push, you know, this saying like, you know, we're already winning. As we continue winning, the only way to stay healthy is a movement. That means treating our cancer and destroying it before it destroys us. They're talking about Candace Owens and Tucker and Nick. I just think you could just not interact with these people. That's what I do when I find somebody, you know, maybe somebody I don't care for, somebody I don't like. I don't go out of my way to interact with them. This is a hard lesson that I learned over many years. So this conservative Civil War thing is a little odd to me. It seems a little inorganic. And I even asked Matt about it. I said, can somebody explain this conservative Civil War to me? Everyone is just is subtweeting about it. He said, I said this the exact same thing I've been saying for years. And this time, randomly, a bunch of people got upset and are still talking about it 9 days later. That's basically the summary. To which I replied, how am I supposed to make a 10-minute video about it when you had such a succinct response? And you see, well, if quarterings wasn't such a kiss-ass response, I don't know, well, what is? These are the same people that have been upset with me for criticizing Candace's takes. I think you can criticize takes of people on the right, and I always will. But the idea that it's more valuable than pointing out what's going on with the left, I think is all Matt's saying. And I respect his willingness to not burn bridges. I respect his willingness to maintain friendships. And you really can't compel somebody to disavow somebody else. That's what leftists do. Best to combat their ideas. We all have a platform now, whether it's X or other video platforms. Why not make videos combating their ideas? That's what I choose to do. But I think demanding the disavowal now is this new thing that's really popped up. And I just don't think there's any value in it. There's no value in disavowing these people. If you want to ignore them, ignore them. But I just don't see any value. It seems like an op to distract people on the right. Stay away from it.